It's the fourth time today that I've tried to upload a video and I've been interrupted each time, so hopefully with my door closed I won't be interrupted and I'll be able to just take about 6 or 7 minutes to kind of lay out some ideas. First off, AJ, I liked your rant. I found it interesting. You weren't loud enough to be on Fox News though, so just to let you know, you're not that annoying. So if you want that route, you just gotta get louder. All right. Also, you said something about context, and that caught my ear as I was reading, being a nerd and reading my Samuel Wells books that I have, and Wells has a line here that I think works for you, for what you were saying. He says, learning to read the Bible means paying close attention to the details of the story and style and sweep of God's dealing with the world. Learning to read the Bible means paying close attention to the details of the story and setting those details in the context of the whole story and style and sweep of God's dealing with the world. I thought that fit very well, or in tune with what you were saying. Wells is very adamant that all Scripture point towards Christ, and that's who ends up fulfilling the Scripture, and that's what Scripture and the story is ultimately about. And that's the God ordained. I don't think ordained's the right word. Story. That's the one given is Christ of the church. That the church. And the others are gifts that he says, other different things. And that's just a nutshell. Not a very good nutshell. I wouldn't eat out of that nutshell. That's what she said. What else? Okay, regarding the ethics. I'm not entirely sure what I had said regarding Christian ethics. I don't go back and watch myself because it's weird. It's like looking in the mirror and hearing the reflection speak while I'm listening. It's odd. So I'm not a big fan of doing that, but I probably should have. But I think if I want to start somewhere regarding ethics, specifically Christian ethics, is that lately I've felt that ministers are held to a higher ethic than even congregants, which I don't think is entirely fair. I think we all should be held to a higher ethic. And the higher ethic I'm speaking of, Soren Kierkegaard had an article I read. He talks about this thing, two types of knights. You have the knights of the infinite resignation, and those knights are those who work for a type of justice or for a social system or for a way of life that they will never see. The type of kingdoms that God, or that Jesus talks about in the parables, the kingdom is like, and the things Jesus worked for is the type of things that come with infinite resignation. Though with Jesus, that's where it stops, because knights of infinite resignation are knights or people who will never see their kind of justice realized. The best example is the civil rights movement, and all those leaders and all of us today, we still won't ever see the fulfillment of the movement. We will never completely see an end to racism or to race issues or gender issues, just like we will never really see an end to the sex slave trade. It doesn't mean we shouldn't work to those ends, but we are resigned to the fact that they are infinite, meaning something greater than ourselves will have to come and correct that function, that issue, that problem, because that problem is ingrained in us. I still believe there are race tensions that just specifically between whites and blacks that we will never be able to get beyond. And you can't look any further than casting Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, and a comment at a website I go to ScreenRant.com, good website, plugging it. Great movie website. Guy wrote Perry White, last name White, he should be white, that type of thing. And then they try to argue like Luke Cage, and they want to see Luke Cage and Black Panther, historically African American, black, actually two of the first real black superheroes. I think Luke Cage was the first predominant black superhero introduced into the genre. That they want to see him white, as because you have a black, Perry White, and it's frustrating because that's how they see it. Perry White's not a character who's written to be white. He's written as a newspaper person and editor-in-chief. He can be whatever color he wants, or whatever color the interpreter desires for him. There are certain characters who can't change color because of the race that they represent. Luke Cage represents the African community. He does. The African American community is represented by Luke Cage. You can't change the Black Panther to a white South African because the Black Panther represents the Africans. The black Africans, not the white South Africans, but the black Africans, those who've been oppressed and those who were stolen and taken, brought over here to America and sold into slavery. That's who he represents. And you can't change that. You can change characters who don't have a significance to the race. But I bring that up because it caused, you just read the comments and they were vicious. So we'll never see an end to it. And I think I rambled enough there, and I don't think I liked everything I said. I would say it a different way, but I'm rushing through. What Kierkegaard brings up next is the Knights of Faith. And Knights of Faith are people who, in the nutshell, are those who do simple things, daily things, that live out their, if we were talking about kingdom values, lived out the kingdom. Loving your neighbor as yourself. Okay, how? Well, a Knight of Faith is one who takes bread over to his neighbor and says, here, you're hungry, let me feed you. Brings in the person who needs a shower or a bed to stay, a place to sleep. Little acts of love. Ministers really do have the better chance of being a Knight of Faith because that's what Jesus was. Jesus was a Knight of Faith in the sense that he realized his kingdom on earth through his actions. They were tangible, hold-on objects. Now, part of Jesus was also a Knight of infinite resignation, but you can only go so far because Jesus will usher in the new kingdom. So therefore, Jesus is not fully a Knight of resignation, infinite resignation. So, I got 2 minutes left, and so I need to sum this up the best I can. And I'll try to do a better job next time. Knights, this is why I mentioned Alfred. Alfred serves Bruce Wayne with an unconditional love. And that love is tangible. He does things that can be measured, can be seen immediately. And that's what the Knight of Faith does. There are immediate things that we see, the immediate things that we do. And Kierkegaard argues that that's a higher ethic because we do things that can be seen immediately. And that's what I think he's saying. So that's what I wanted to get at in terms of ethics, is that the minister has a Christian ethic to do things that are seen, that are felt, can be felt, can be held, can be touched, can be heard, can be visualized. It's not, it's not a far off thing. It's not the kingdom is like A. It's like the kingdom is like this, what I am doing now, on my hands and my knees serving. And that's a higher ethic, and I think that's an ethic that is lost among ministers. I think that's an ethic that's coming back in our generation of ministers. Those of us who are now ministering, who have come out of a tradition where ministers, pastors sit in their office, they write their sermons, they visit every now and then, but being a pastor is about preaching. And I think that's changing. So I've taken up enough time, a little more than I wanted to, and I'm not entirely sure that I agree or like everything I've just said. I've been kind of floating off the cuff here. Uh, so I'll probably come back and actually listen and correct some things. And then I gotta pack up my office. So, until then, peace.